I want to give you a high-level overview of the new node graph feature in Vyssuals and maybe spark some ideas what you can do with it. And to illustrate these new capabilities, what we are going to do is we will transfer some properties from rooms onto doors that open into that room. And you can kind of see what kind of a node graph we will build out, but I'll walk you through this step by step. So the first thing you need to do is in the properties, ensure that we have include spatial properties checked on. This will include properties for family instances, for example, the room that they're in, or properties like from room and to room. These are properties that Revit reports for us, and Vyssuals can work with them. And then, of course, make sure that the connector is running. Okay, so I will reset a bunch of things here so we get a clean slate to start from. And yeah, like this. So this is the property that we want to bring onto the doors, and that is the occupancy property of the rooms. So it pretty much tells us like what department a certain room belongs to. And let's say that influences how we work with our doors. So we want to have that property written on the doors to export it later. Okay. So each node graph starts with a model input or some form of data input. And you can get those, all the nodes up here in the top right corner. And let's pick a second model input here. So this model input gives us all the doors, and it takes the type name and this room occupancy parameter that we want to fill with data. And for this model input, what we need is the rooms. And from the rooms, we need the ID, the native ID, which is the Revit ID, because we want to match data based on that. It's going to make sense in a little bit. And then we also need the occupancy from the room, because that's what we want to bring to the doors. Okay, and actually I should make this a bit bigger so you can see in the doors input we also bring this to room ID property. And now what we're going to do is we just drag a connection out here and we choose the join node, and that lets us merge data from two sources via a common property. And I'll hook both of them up. And now this tells me that I need to select a column. So from the doors data flow, we will take the room ID. And from the rooms data flow, we will take the native ID. And that will connect the data based on that ID. And you can add a preview to this so you can see what is happening here. And now you can see that, okay, we have the type names of the doors and we have the occupancy of the room. And now the next step that we want to do is just transfer this property's values into this column. And to do that, we will take a formula node. This is a super powerful node. It gives a bunch of examples here, but for now we can keep it very simple. And what we'll do is we select the output column. So where do we want to write the data into, which is room occupancy parameter of the doors. And then in here, I'll just use the quick insert and I'll take the occupancy from the rooms. And that's going to be just put into that parameter. And to see what's going on, again, let's use a table preview. And now you can see that the room occupancy has the same values. Now, one important concept to understand about this node graph is that nothing has happened in Revit yet, and that is on purpose to give you safety. So this is not modifying the Revit model all the time, but you have to tell it when to modify the Revit file. And you do that by using the create changes node. So this is typically the last node in your flow. You start off with these inputs, you do your data transformations, and then you typically will put a create changes node. And here you pick a column that you want to compare against the Revit file. In our case, we'll take this room occupancy property that we've just populated. And for this, I say create changes. And it's going to bring up this table for me. And it's going to show me that it was previously all empty, and now it contains these values. And once I'm happy with this, I can use this paper airplane button here to send the changes into Revit. I'm going to do that, say approve all and send. And they have turned green, which means that Revit has accepted those changes. And now what we should do is look at the result, like look at what data has actually reached Revit. And to do that, I'll come over to our categories and parameters panel. You should probably be familiar with this already. I'll search for doors, and then I'll search for the parameter that we have just populated. I'll take this one, just click on it once, and bring that over here. And if I now apply the colors, you can see that the doors have been populated with that parameter value. So that's the high-level overview on the new node graph features.